Tucker.
Hey, Glenn.
How are you?
How you doing?
Good.
I couldn't be better.
Yeah.
Luckily, I'm so cut off.
This is, we were talking about it earlier today. I recognize what you're going through right now.
I know you do. You're one of like 3 people in the world you understand.
It is crazy. It is crazy to watch it from the outside. So, Tucker, first of all, can we just get this out of the way? Are you saying that this was a peaceful event? Or are you saying this was...
Well, of course not. Of course not. No. I'm just... I tried to be pretty... I wrote those scripts myself, so any overstatement or errors of fact are my fault. But I tried to keep it specific. We focused on a couple of individuals, 3. And they're Jacob Chansley, the QAnon shaman, Brian Sicknick, the Capitol Police officer who died after January 6th, and Ray Epps, the mysterious figure on camera promoting violence who was for some reason not indicted, put on the FBI's most wanted list, then pulled off and thanked by Democrats for his service. And we assessed each of those stories on in light of the new tape that we reviewed. And in the first case, I merely made the point that here's a guy, Jacob Chansley, a Navy veteran who's doing 4 years in prison for some species of domestic terrorism, but none of us have ever been shown what he did to deserve 4 years in prison. And now we know. And there's videotape of him being led around by Capitol Police into the Senate chamber. And at one point, they try one door, it's locked. On his behalf, they're trying to get him into the Senate chamber. Then they lead him in, it's on tape, and he goes into the Senate chamber and immediately says a prayer out loud of thanksgiving for the police officers who let him in.
Okay, so wait. He is being escorted by the police, but the captain of the Capitol Police said just last night that this was to de-escalate the situation.
And I'm sure there was a lot of de-escalation going on. I'm speaking of a very specific case where this was not de-escalation, it was something else. And I can't really guess as to what it was. I merely put the video up and drew my conclusions. But, of course, viewers are welcome to draw their own. But here you have a guy who's walking alone. There are no other protesters in the frame. And there are 9 armed Capitol Hill police officers around him. They do not stop him. They don't try and slow him down. They don't try to bring him to an exterior exit. They lead him, trying different doors into the Senate chamber, at which point, as I said, he says a prayer justly of thanksgiving for them and their assistance. Now, I can't even guess as to what motivated them, what we're looking at here, but I know what we're not looking at, which is an act of violent terrorism. And yet this guy's doing 4 years in jail. And I'm trying not to use profanity on your show, but like, what the heck is that? I mean, for real, like, what is that? And don't tell me it's something that it's not. And so the main conclusion that I drew is that Chuck Schumer and the horrible Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, filthy man, and Mitt Romney and Tom Tillis and Senator Kramer of North Dakota, like, they're all lying. They're all lying. And a lot of them are Republicans. Why are they lying about what we can see plainly, and why didn't they want us to see it? And again, I can't sort of fill in that blank. I can't answer that question, but I know deception when I see it. It's demonstrable. It's proven. And they should, I think, be asked to explain themselves. Like, it's not enough to say, oh, it was the worst violent insurrection since Gettysburg or something. Okay, fine. Stop with the overstatement, the hyperbole, and just explain to me what I'm looking on the screen and seeing, you know?
Tucker, because I've been in this situation before, let me ask you, if I came to you and I gave you some edited footage of something and I said, no, Tucker, this is what it is. You're not going to believe this. I'm going to show you some stuff, but this was an armed insurrection. It was really bad. Let me show you. And I've edited some tape and given it to you. If that turned out that I edited out the things that you found, would you just kind of go quiet, or would you come out and blast me to smithereens?
I'd feel deceived. And
right.
And as you know, you've worked in television most of your life. You've worked around pictures. You know their power, and you know their capacity to deceive. Nothing is more misleading than pictures.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're seeing the whole story, you're not. And all of us who work in this medium know that. And so I think TV people, above all, and movie people, anyone who works around pictures, is very aware of their power and their capacity for deception. And so we're suspicious. Okay, you showed me those pictures, you whipped me into a lather, but is there something you're not showing me? Did you edit that? And so from the very first day, I wanted to see all the video. And
right.
And I don't understand why is MSNBC and CNN and NBC News and CBS and why is no one else interested?
It's beyond not interested. If they were innocent of this, if they were just saying, "Hey, we're just reporting what we have been told and what we were given," I would feel very deceived, and I would be the loudest in the room saying, "Release all of it to me, because what I just saw doesn't match what you gave me." Why aren't they standing up and defending their own honor and integrity?
Well, that's it. Oh, God, I'm so grateful you said that, because that's the core of it. It's not even thank you for saying that. It's not even about politics, partisanship, power. It's about dignity.
Yes.
It's about your own self-respect. I'm an adult man. I'm 53. I have 4 grown children. I pay my taxes. I'm a citizen lifelong of this country. You can't lie to me. You diminish me when you do that. And if I participate in that, if I allow you to lie to me, then I'm no longer a free man. I'm a slave. And that has to do with me. It's not even about you. I have self-respect, and I cannot allow that to continue without me saying something about it, because I respect myself. I hold myself to higher standards. I'm not Mahatma Gandhi or something. I don't want to overstate my virtue. I'm not very virtuous, actually. But I do have some standard of self-respect, and they don't. And it's shocking to me.
You called the January 6th committee members liars. Besides suggestions that, Sitnik was murdered, not even suggestions, but claiming that. Do you make the case that they're liars? They didn't just, fib a bit and eat around the corners. That these are full-fledged liars.
Well, that was the stunning part to me. I've been in Washington my whole life, and my dad worked for the government, so I had a kind of root-level trust in government, or not trust in government, but the whole thing can't be fraudulent, because I know the people who work there. My dad was one of them. This is, I'm very much from that world. I guess that's what I'm saying. So my default setting is not they're lying about everything. I've never assumed that. And so I was shocked to learn that they were lying intentionally. And the way that we know that, we have a very specific way of knowing that, which is when January 6th committee researchers looked at video, they bookmarked it. They left an electronic mark on the video they watched. So we know what they watched, and then we watched it. And so there is video of Chansley, of Ray Epps, and of Brian Sicknick that we know they watched, that was not included in the report, was never mentioned in the hearings. A year and a half, 1,000 witnesses, 850-page report. And this video, which overturns the story they were telling, proves it was a lie, they saw but hid. So, I'm always hesitant to go to motive, because who understands people's motives? You can only really guess about them. But in this specific case, we know that they lied. And that just blew my mind. I mean, some of these guys, if Adam Schiff lies, I think Adam Schiff, there are spiritual forces surrounding Adam Schiff. I think he is a force of darkness, and I mean that. But is Benny Thompson evil? I have trouble believing, I've known Liz Cheney for 25 years. Is Liz Cheney actually a liar? I just always assume she just disagrees on the issues with me. No, it turns out Liz Cheney is actually affirmatively a liar. She knew information, she withheld it because it challenged the lie that she was telling to the public. And that just completely, call me naive. I guess I'm sure everyone listening is like, how stupid are you? Well, I guess kind of stupid, because I was blown away by that.
So I know you don't want to go into motivation, but this is a pretty large lie. I don't want to use big lie, because that's what Schumer used and Hitler used. But it's a pretty large lie. What is the motivation?
Well, if again, I can only speculate, but I know the effects of the lie, and they're not small. This is an event that was a complex event with many facets. And they simplified it immediately into a good versus evil tale, as they do with everything, partly because they lack nuance and imagination and sophistication, but partly because this was a tool they were using for a purpose. It was a cudgel they were using to beat down their opponents and grab more power for themselves. And in effect, what it did was change the definition of terrorism from something that, exists in other countries and is aimed at us to Republican voters, populist voters. I shouldn't say Republican, because Bernie Sanders voters, Trump voters, anybody who questions the legitimacy of the current
two-party system
power holders is now redefined not as a political opponent, but as a terrorist. And that has very specific consequences. It means all of a sudden you can harness the world's largest law enforcement organization, the FBI, and the intel agencies, CIA, NSA, Defense Intelligence, all of them. And you can harness them against your political opponents. And that's exactly what they did, not just in the hundreds of people who went to jail and the almost 100 who were still in jail without trial as political prisoners 26 months later, but all the other people who are just political activists who have views. Honestly, people like you, like they can read your text messages. They did read mine. NSA read my text messages and then threatened me with them. And, I brought this to members of Congress. They had a hearing on it. NSA admitted they did it, and then nothing happened. The director of the NSA is still in office, like nothing happens. And you realize, wow, the largest organization in human history, the federal government, has been harnessed as a political tool. It's like the one thing you can't allow. And we have allowed it. It's happened with the complicity of Republicans, certainly with Mitch McConnell's complicity. And that's just mind-blowing. And then it's like, well, what do I do now? I'm not going to leave America. I'm from here. I love this country. I have 4 kids. I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stay here. But you really start to feel like I've always thought I was a very patriotic person, fly the American flag, believe in the country. And all of a sudden, it's like the power centers in the country, the government, which is supposed to be nonpartisan, serving all of us equally as citizens, that's turned against me like I'm some Al-Qaeda member from Baluchistan or something. Like, what? It's very bewildering. I will say that.
Yeah, I think part of it is because we forgot what Washington said, which was, government is like fire. You control it, it's fine. If it controls you, it'll burn everything down. And we confused our love of the principles of our country with the love of and trust of our government. Trust the principles, not the government. I'm back with Tucker Carlson here in 60 seconds. So, Tucker, what is it that... What if 'cause I think you're making points that I understand, but the left intentionally is misunderstanding them and trying to direct the conversation into places that you're not suggesting. What is the message that you want people to walk away with this week? What's the point of what you're doing?
That you're being lied to and that you deserve better. Your government's not allowed to lie to you. That's against the law. They're not allowed to lie to you. It's your government. And you should demand better. And I would say in a very specific way, I've alluded to it a couple of times, that for people who are not, supporters of President Biden, who think the system needs reform, that it doesn't represent them, it doesn't serve their interests, those people are Republican voters because they have no option. They vote for the Republican Party. There's no third party, a meaningful one. And so very specifically, they have to demand more from their own representatives or else democracy isn't real. So representative democracy, that means your will is expressed through the votes of the people you vote for to go to Washington on your behalf. And that is absolutely not happening. Their priorities are in a different universe from the priorities of their voters. You don't see that on the left. Democratic politicians make some effort to represent their own voters. Republican politicians do not. Mitch McConnell has zero interest in what you think about anything. And that's a structural problem with the party. And I don't know what the fix is. I think part of the problem is that Republican voters the donors don't like Republican voters. They clearly don't. And the biggest donors to the Republican Party think Republican voters are disgusting. And that's a huge, huge problem. That's not true on the other side. So I don't know, but there's kind of nothing you can do about Merrick Garland if you're your average voter. But if you're your member of Congress is like not even bothering to listen to what you care about, you have a way to replace him. It's called a primary. And I don't know why that never happens. I mean, I really don't understand. I mean, Adam Kinzinger would still be serving in the Congress if he wasn't redistricted out of his seat. And like, what is that? You know, were the majority of Republican voters in his Illinois district on his side? No, but he would have gotten reelected. So there's a problem with our system, and I hope that can be fixed.